So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my boys, the NFT Launchpad Method for Brands, presented by Connor, Jonathan, and Elliot. Give them a round of applause.
You're like the best hype man ever. It's unbelievable. So good. Okay, first up, just want to kind of start these things, as we always do, just thanking the community for being here. I really feel like we're very much at a very poignant moment at the moment in the Web3 space, of course, with lots of brands adopting this new technology. And very much we're trying to do our part and making sure that brands do it properly when they do. My name is Connor Wells. I'm a co-founder of Not Another NFT alongside these DGens. And we're very much kind of about holding brands' hands through the space, taking the time to kind of talk them through the technology, how they can very much solve traditional business challenges, accelerate the areas of their business that's working through Web3 and through this incredible technology. I'm very much a brand veteran. Spent about seven years at L'Oreal, which of course they've delved into the space a lot and they're doing an incredible job. I heard about Next Professional Makeup earlier on with their DAO. Very, very cool. So that's very inspiring. I came into the space, not a holder of NFTs. That wasn't really my bag. My focus was all about recognizing how I can supercharge my customer base as a marketeer through the technology. Then I met these guys. Go ahead, El.
Cheers, Connor. So, wow, that's loud. So I'm Elliot, the second of three co-founders of Not Another NFT. In terms of my background, it's very much in e-commerce and working on building out worldwide programs that use tech and leverage tech to solve the most complex and ambiguous customer problems and doing that at scale. In terms of my introduction and interest in Web3, started about 3 years ago, and put simply, Web3 is the next evolution in the internet, and I very much want to be at the forefront of that wherever it goes, and hence the founding of Not Another.
Hi everyone. Oh, that's real loud. Hi everyone. My name's Johnny. I'm the third and final part of Not Another NFT, and my background comes from working with brands of all sizes on the commercial side. I've also worked with retailers from pure players to department stores and grocery as well. So I know Elliot from university, and Connor and I used to work together at L'Oreal. So we've all kind of got different and valuable experiences that we can draw upon to help brands launch their own NFT projects.
Cool. We also do some work in kind of academia, so just want to give a bit of a shout out to Kingston University back home. Today we're going to talk about our Launchpad method, and we're very much kind of reinforcing it academically so that we can give businesses and leaders the comfort that they should have when they're entering the Web3 space. In terms of what we're going to talk about today, so we came to NFT London back in November, and we spoke about our Launchpad method. For those of you who weren't there, our Launchpad method is essentially a really, really simple kind of 4-point plan. It's a resource for businesses and business leaders to kind of walk through to make sure that when they are going into the Web3 space, they're doing it properly, they're mitigating risk, and they're actually adding true value. We're going to talk through that today. The focus is really to give you an applied example based on one of our clients, Heath Skincare. So Heath are an amazing brand. We're very, very fortunate to be working with them. Bit of context about them. A brand founded in 2017. They very much put lots of effort into kind of traditional marketing activations over the last kind of year and a half. They are the fastest growing male skincare brand within the UK at the moment. Their whole obsession is kind of fostering that engaged kind of customer. And what they've been trying to do is turn their customer into an emotionally engaged stakeholder, but in Web 2. And then we came in and kind of said, well, look, that's the whole purpose of Web3. That's the kind of things, that's how you can leverage the technology to be able to do that. Heath, also a bit of context, because you'll want to understand this for when we talk through the Launchpad method. Their obsession also is kind of reframing skincare as a wellness moment, so that's very much their brand territory, and they occupy the protective kind of skincare space. El, do you want to go through the KPIs that we set?
Yeah, exactly. So before we go through the 4-step plan, whenever we work with a new brand or a new potential client, we want to understand their business diagnosis. So applying it to Heath in a practical example, what was their business diagnosis? So put simply, we can kind of cut it into 3 parts. So Heath Skincare operates in a very saturated market, which is male skincare, and hence they wanted a new and innovative way to cut through but more specifically to cut through and supercharge their advocacy pool, ultimately to continue to build up their brand awareness, not only within the UK, but on a global scale. And they saw that via creating a strategic Web3 project. And that is those 3 points are the key pieces that we bear in mind when we take them through our Launchpad framework, which John will go into now.
Great. So when we work with Heath and with any brand for that matter, we have what's called the founding principle. So we need to identify with the brand what their territory is. So with Heath, their territory is very much related around wellness, and that being the skincare moment. And if you don't have a territory as a brand, you need to go away and work on that before using an NFT initiative to reinforce that. Okay? So to give you top-line introduction as to what the Heath Skincare NFT is going to be, it's 15 NFTs. They're free, and you have to attend an event in London, and then they'll be given to the winners of them. It's a competition, and then holding that will get you access to certain things, and there's other benefits to holding it too. So our 4 golden rules are, number 1, customer centricity. Number 2, breaking barriers, and those 2 are really crucial for taking your current customer base and taking them into your Web3 journey. And then the third point is gamification, and the 4th is continuity. Now, these are really important for attracting that Web3 consumer. So we're going to go into detail of what those 4 pillars are now with the Heath example applied.
Cool, thanks, John. I kind of want to caveat as well, because when you hear what that initiative sounds like, 15 NFTs, launch event in London, it doesn't really sound like that much, but what we do generally when we work with our brands to mitigate that risk, we essentially launch what's called a low commitment strategy. So this is obviously, a brand dipping their toe into Web3, making sure that they're not doing anything to potentially risk the equity that they've spent lots and lots of time, money and resources in building within Web 2. So that's a really, really important point, and Elliot will go on to the phase 2 aspect of the NFT project a little bit later. With regard to customer centricity, which is the first pillar, this is absolutely crucial. And obviously me as a brand veteran, it's something that I've been working on now for a long, long time. So customer centricity for us is quite simple. It's just creating a really solid value proposition and one that resonates with your customer. So obviously, given the KPIs that we had for this project, the value proposition for Heath was super, super simple. The first element was obviously reinforcing the products that they have. So the way that we did that, again, super simple. We've got an advocacy model. So these 15 holders of the tokens, they would get exclusive access to all of the new products that Heath were launching. And then obviously the supplementary benefit for Heath of that was that these advocacy members, i.e. influencers, would then share those products. So actually not only are they becoming more engaged and emotionally connected to Heath, they're actually sharing to the wider public, which is obviously what we want. The second KPI, as the guys mentioned, is all about reinforcing that brand kind of equity and that brand territory that Heath are trying to build within Web 2. So this is something that I, again, am really, really passionate about. Really, really simple utility. So within this advocacy pool, if you're a holder of the token, you have the opportunity to win different kind of retreats around wellness. So you can go on a spa break, you can go to kind of an unplugged cabin somewhere maybe. And again, doing that by default and them sharing that, again, gives them the ability, well, it gives them, I mean, they're sharing it, so obviously it drives that awareness for Heath. Finally, this is my favorite one because I think there's endless opportunities really here. What we've also done is we've implemented this feedback and testing pool. So ultimately, I mentioned it earlier on, the focus for us is about taking, whether it's your influencers, whether it's your customers, it's taking them, turning them from that customer and turning them into a very much kind of engaged stakeholder of your brand. So we thought that there'd be no way better to do that than have them input into a long kind of lasting project of the brand. So with the testing and feedback pool, these kind of advocacy members and the holders of the token can directly feed back on new products that Heath are launching. They can directly test them, and they can have obviously a huge input into what's actually going to launch for Heath. And this, honestly, for me, I think is, although it's a really, really simple, low commitment concept, is a great way of actually engaging them and turning them into stakeholders of the brands. And we just spoke about when we were in there as well, we said, well, this could easily turn into a DAO. If this was going to be publicly facing, we could look at doing this on a much broader scale with the public so that people vote on what products Heath are launching in the future. And as an FMCG company that launched lots and lots of products, I think it's a great opportunity to actually leverage that type of customer centricity.
And actually, that's usually something that brands would pay a lot of money for, to go out and do product testing with consumers. That's something that, as you would know, Connor, right? You go to, I don't even know what they're called, these pools of people, and they say which are their best.
Focus groups.
That's where we are. Focus groups that cost a lot of money. If you're
And
doing
it's
it this way-
decentralized, which is even better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just one way in which you can also leverage the technology in a different way that we hadn't necessarily thought about at first, but is a supplementary benefit.
Exactly, and I think it plays into the fact that with Web3, when you buy into a project, you become a stakeholder, you become emotionally invested in what you're buying into. And when we speak to clients and brands, we really try to help them understand that that is what happens when you enter the Web3 space. So that was customer centricity. Let me go into our second pillar or golden rule of our Launchpad method, which we term as breaking barriers. Now, I think all of us in the room today can, if it's fair to say, that the barriers to Web3 are still very high. It is still confusing for people that are not native. And so when working with clients and brands, we need to think of ways in order to break down those barriers. And a really neat question to ask yourself when building a project and whether you're breaking barriers successfully or not is, if I had no context to this project, would I understand what's going on and exactly what it is? And if the answer to that question is no, then you need to go back to the drawing board until the answer is yes. Now, applying this theory in the practical example of Heath, we kind of broke it down into 3 parts. And the first is the onboarding ramp. So how can we make that as smooth as possible? Now, for Heath, it meant partnering with a technical solution that meant we could integrate the Founders Club NFT, which is what the collection is called, within their main website and their main navigation page, seamlessly integrated into their brand journey, which is so important because I think the future of brand integration with NFTs is you integrate your Web3 project into your existing journey. You don't fragment it. So for us, it meant partnering with a really, really cool company called Perks, who specify in Shopify plugins, more specifically token-gated access. And ultimately, the outcome is that we seamlessly integrated the NFT collection within Heath's main navigation page. And so really and truly, the consumer of Heath, they wouldn't know that they're on an NFT page, for example. And I think that's a really important piece in terms of breaking down barriers. The second mechanism we used is education, right? Sounds simple, but we as people in the space have a responsibility to educate the new audiences coming in. So for Heath, really simple, created FAQs that, again, front of face on the website, answering all questions from what is this NFT collection, what utility will I get, all the way from what is an NFT, what is blockchain. Sounds super simple, but it's super key. And another mechanism we have is when we have the launch event on the 31st of May, we'll be there with our wider team, with iPads, ready to answer any and all questions that people may have on the project, right? Again, helping to break down barriers. And then the third and final piece of this is the why. What is the utility? Why should I care? And Connor spoke about the utility previously, so I won't go into it. But ultimately, it's making the consumer, who will then be a stakeholder, understand the why of what you're offering. So those are the 3 parts of breaking barriers.
I just want to say something on Perks as well, because obviously they're not the only token-gated plug-and-play app or kind of Shopify plugin, but the reason why we love them so much is because when we work on low commitment strategies, right, there's budgets aren't huge. And the beauty of a solution like Perks is that you can build it as a plug-and-play mechanism for $80, $100 a month. And that really gives these brands the opportunity to go in, dip their toes into the tech, as we said, and then evaluate whether it's right for them or whether they want to go back to the drawing board and do something entirely different. So absolutely working with these incredible solution providers where we don't even know where they'll be in kind of 3 or 4 months' time from now because it moves so quickly is absolutely the reason why we can do projects like this for Heath.
Great, and so our third pillar is gamification. And in the academic context, and as we spoke earlier about being academic contributors, it's called ludology. So we have kind of 4 key aspects that we apply to gamification. So the objective is to get more user engagement out of your consumer, and in a really fun way that keeps people coming back. It can be quite subtle, or it also could be just as direct as making them play like a mini game to win something. So our first one is through achieving a sense of mystery. So this can be done by, in this context with Heath, we've got quarterly competitions, and every quarter the prizes are unrevealed. So those prizes will also be related back to wellness territory, as we spoke about earlier. The second one is to underpromise and overdeliver. So on our roadmap, we have certain utility that the holders are going to be aware of, but above that, Not Another NFT and Heath know that there are additional benefits that the holders will receive that they don't know about when they get the NFT initially. A third point is to reward the consumer. So for this one, you need to connect your NFT to the D2C website, direct to customer website, and then they can redeem the products, as Connor mentioned earlier, the products that are not available to the general public or to those retailers yet. So you're rewarding them for coming onto your site and engaging with you. The fourth point is through exclusivity. Now, there are 2 points here. First one is maybe a token-gated access, could be to community, discounts, rewards, whatever that may be. And also through building rarity into the actual NFT. So in the context of Heath here, we have a gold tier, and the winners of the gold tier get benefits over and above that the other NFT holders will not receive.
Yeah, and I think this point on gamification for me really speaks for someone that has collected NFTs for a while now. You know, if a project successfully executes gamification, it's what's going to keep you up 2, 3 a.m. wanting to mint this next NFT, because you've got that mystery, you've got that allure, or something that maybe you don't know what's coming next. And the best projects in the space really do execute well on that. Okay, cool. So gamification was our third pillar. I'm going to go on to our fourth and final, which we call continuity, which ultimately is all about delivering on what you're promising. And again, those of us who have been in the space for a while and who are invested in projects, I think all of us will understand if a founder of a project promises to deliver something, and then as time goes on, it doesn't happen, that's the biggest way for FUD to be created, for hate to be created on Twitter, and ultimately the fastest way for your project to fail. And so continuity for us when we're working with brands is making sure that they're holding themselves accountable to deliver meaningful and continuous value. And that's something that we've worked with Heath a lot on, to try to help them understand how important this is, especially in the Web3 space, where people are more emotionally connected to what they're investing in. So again, applying that to Heath, it's kind of 2 phases in terms of continuity. So the first phase is this 1 of 15 collection that is low commitment. And the beauty of that is it allows Heath to dip their toes into the Web3 space without overspending on budget. But the most important thing is they're taking key learnings that maybe their competition are not. And so it could, and so it will prove to be a competitive advantage when we go into phase 2. And so phase 2, can't talk too much about that because it's kind of in the works at the moment, and we want to keep the gamification, the secrecy there. But ultimately, it's about building on the learnings from phase 1 and building out a larger scale public-facing project that more importantly helps Heath identify their super fans. And the super fans are going to be those ones that are emotionally connected to the brand and feel like they're part of something. So that's continuity broken down in 2 phases for Heath.
Also, I hope we've taken you through our Launchpad method and how we applied it in order to cut through in the saturated skincare market, but also really reinforce their brand identity around wellness. So along with those KPIs, there's a lot of other supplementary benefits that Heath received by launching an NFT project. So the first one is we got a lot of organic press. The second one is it enabled them to leverage partnerships with other brands, often startups, as well as identify the superfan, which we've spoken about a lot. And actually, another one that we haven't got yet is the resale, the people that maybe didn't interact with you the first time, but are now interested in your brand. You had no way of identifying them before Web3. and before NFTs. And then the last one is you future-proof yourself as well, because this technology does move quickly. We don't know where it's going to be in 6 months or 5 years, and the use cases of how people are using them and how brands are using them. By getting on board now, you're already familiarizing yourself with this technology so that as these things do change, you're on board and you're moving with them.
I think one thing that we always focus on is very much aligning our Web3 projects to real marketing-centric kind of KPIs, driving awareness, driving retention, driving that kind of loyalty aspect. But I think you don't really know where the opportunities lie when you do build a project like this. Some of the best opportunities that we've seen from this project have actually been ones that we didn't set out to achieve in the first place, and that's the beauty of Web3. You never know really what you're going to achieve, and that's probably the most exciting thing for us, particularly while we're on this journey working with some incredible brands, leveraging your amazing technology. Thanks so much, guys. Come and find us, have a chat. We're all learning.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.